Is it the right PowerPoint? The date's wrong on it.
It's November 19th, isn't it?
Yeah, it says 18 though. Could just be wrong on the PowerPoint.
Oh, well.
Are you doing the radio show again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably turn down the volume. Here, yeah, check, check, check. Here I am talking. Here I am. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Yep.
Hey, Don.
Hey, Anders, how's it going?
Oh yeah, yeah, I hear him.
Good. It's storming here pretty good.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really? Are they expecting a lot?
Yeah.
There's a flooding warning. It's like they have a generic one. It seems to be that one where it's like 5 to 10 centimeters of rain or whatever.
Jeez.
On your PowerPoint, the date is wrong. It's yesterday. You have it labeled as. Do we have the correct one?
I can hardly hear you, Anders. You sound very distant.
No, the he's worried about the PowerPoint, but it's just it's dated for yesterday.
Yeah, I just fixed it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I caught that when I was reviewing it before.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll
Um,
be fine on the stream. Just get
it's
it off
fine on the stream.
Just start it on the next slide so it doesn't show the date.
Yeah, I'll start at the table of contents.
Okay. Right.
The reason I sound so far away is because I am far away. The mic's on the table.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's
Oh, over there.
he's at my
Okay, yeah.
computer behind the monitors.
Ah, okay, got it.
He doesn't officially have a mic. I'm at the mic.
Let's see.
5 minutes. So, are you still able to record immediately after this, Don?
Yeah, if you're up for it.
Well, Anders can take care of it for sure.
Okay. Oh, you're not going to be around?
Oh, I'll be here, but I won't have any role in it, right?
Well, remember, yeah. So the way, how did we do it then? We did a
You just
after
record
each
it.
slide.
You just record it, leave a 5 second break, and then do the next slide, and then we edit it like that.
Yeah, I didn't say next slide or anything like that,
Yeah,
right?
you don't have to say next slide. You just finish, wait
Yeah.
5 seconds, then start the new slide, and then we get rid of we put the slide in. We know where each break point is to put the slide in.
Yep. Okay. All right. Yeah, because it's all ready to go, Tony. It's 21 slides, so it should take about 25 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Everything's ready to go.
I guess you better get me that. Well, I guess we're. Are we live right now? I guess we are, right? But we're just talking project business, anyways. But get me that PowerPoint because I got to create the VR thing too.
Oh yeah, I think I sent it to you, didn't I?
Oh, is it that one? Okay, I'll use
The
that
cumulative
one.
effects one.
I'll extract the
Yeah,
slides
that's
from
the
it
one.
and then update the VR
Yep,
component.
that's the one. Send me your
What's up,
invoices
guys?
too, or
Sounds good.
invoice. I want to get those in soon, Tony. And we don't have to include anything for Fred, so that's good. This one should be pretty quick. There's not a ton of content, just so you guys know. Might be less than 20 minutes.
Okay.
That's all right. It is what it is. It's information for the people. Anyone who's tuned in right now. It's gonna be quick. All the start of this gets edited out. So
Three minutes. 2 minutes to air. I'm going to go silent in the studio here. Good luck, Don, and we'll catch you on the other side.
All right, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
2-minute warning. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Don Parkinson, and I'm a Senior Consultation Specialist with Atkins Realis. Today, we are continuing our series of live stream topics on the Northern Road Link project as it moves through the Provincial Environmental Assessment and Federal Impact Assessment processes. The topics we are covering parallel our project activities, so we hope these will help our viewers and listeners better understand the project and provide input along the way. Today I'm flying solo as Jennifer is on assignment, so why don't we get started now? Today we're going to talk about the air quality in greenhouse gas emissions studies or study plan. So I'm going to walk through a little bit of this and just to give people an idea. And again, you know, environmental assessments or impact assessments are very broad. They cover a lot of different disciplines. They involve a lot of different studies because the environment is more than just the biological environment. And there's also the physical environment, and part of that physical environment is related to air and greenhouse gas emissions. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And just to give you a quick run through of our topics, we're going to, as we always do, a little bit of a project background to get to welcome any new viewers and listeners, um, get them familiar with the project, or just get everyone updated that hasn't been engaged with us in a while about this project. We're going to talk about the study goals. We're going to talk about sources of air contamination and potential emissions, um, valued components, and then finally how to keep in touch with us as well. So um, without further ado, let's move on and talk a little bit about some provide some background on the project. Um, so the Northern Road Link is a proposed all-season road in Northern Ontario on Treaty 9 land. And the intent of the road is to connect the Ring of Fire mineral deposits to the all-season highway network via a connection with the proposed Martin Falls Community Access Road. And in doing so, and I'll explain this a little bit slightly later, this will provide an opportunity for Martin Falls neighbors to the north, Webequie First Nation, to connect to the all-season highway network. Just so, just to help people become familiar with the area, the Ring of Fire is considered one of the most promising mineral development opportunities in Ontario. There's a number of minerals that have been associated with these deposits, including chromite, cobalt, nickel, copper, and platinum. Um, this particular all-season road project, the Northern Road Link project, is like the other two, subject to both the Provincial Environmental Assessment Act and the Federal Impact Assessment Act, and therefore a environmental assessment and an impact assessment are required. Individual version of these. Proponents are Martin Falls First Nation and Webequie First Nation. Both of these are remote communities, meaning that they are not accessible by an all-season road. They are only accessible via air or for a very narrow window of time via winter roads, and that window seems to be getting narrower and narrower each year with climate change and rapid fluctuations in temperature and thinning ice and things like that. So both of these communities, just so everyone knows, are about 500 kilometers north of Thunder Bay in slightly different directions. There have been a number of previous studies conducted on the feasibility of a road in this area. In 2020, Ontario, as well as Martin Falls First Nation and Webequie First Nation, agreed to work together. And the communities agreed to conduct a provincial environmental assessment for the project funded by the province, and then it was later uh, uh, designated as a project that would be subject to federal impact assessment as well. So in terms of where this project sits and how it interacts with the other all-season road projects, the three proposed road projects um, sit in northern Ontario. The Webequie Supply Road project is the northernmost planned all-season road project that we're talking about, and it is planned to extend from the airport in Webequie First Nation southeast to east of the Mukattai River in the McFalls Lake area, basically in the heart or center of the Ring of Fire, where it would then connect with the northern end of the Northern Road Link, All Season Road, which would extend south, connecting with the Martin Falls Community Access Road west of Martin Falls, and then the Martin Falls Community Access Road would extend south, connecting then with two upgraded resource roads, and then ultimately with the provincial highway network. So the net result would be connecting Webequie First Nation, a remote First Nation, with the provincial highway network, connecting the Ring of Fire minerals to a market via the provincial highway network, and connecting Martin Falls First Nation to the provincial highway network. And this, of course, would enable economic activity in both communities by facilitating the transport of goods, services, and resources. So let's talk about the project components because, as I've mentioned many times before, it's not just about a two-lane road. There's more to it than that. There are other infrastructure elements associated. The road itself would be an all-season, multi-use road. It would range in length from anywhere between 117 to 164 kilometers with a 100-meter right of way. And the reason why I'm giving you a range for the proposed length of the road is that we are in the process of finalizing to identify a preferred corridor. So right now there's corridor alternatives. So the shortest set of alternatives would be 117 kilometers. The longest would be 164 kilometers. As you can imagine, there were numerous water crossings These would be serviced by, depending on the span width, like the length that the water course would cover over the water. These would be serviced by culverts or bridges. One large bridge crossing would occur at the Attawapiskat River. This would be over 200 meters in width. And in terms of what we call ancillary infrastructure, meaning other infrastructure other than the road, some of this infrastructure would be temporary, some of this would be permanent. You would have things like storage and laydown areas. You would have maintenance facilities and yards, and these would be permanent. Access roads would be required to get access to things like the pits and quarries that would be used um, temporarily or permanently, depending on whether they're just used for getting material for construction or whether they're getting material that would be used to maintain the road through its lifespan. Again, aggregate sites where the construction material would come from and the material to be used for the maintenance of the road, and then construction camps. And there would be construction camps located at relatively equal intervals along the route. In terms of alternative corridors, there are currently 12 alternative corridor segments. This map on your screen might appear to be a bit confusing. It just shows that there's optional road segments to take depending on the location. And what we're talking about here is corridors. So when we're talking about corridors, we're talking about a 2 kilometer wide band of land and water. And the reason why we work with this for planning purposes at this point is to be able to have some wiggle room essentially to move the position of the road around, because sometimes we don't have all the information or new information is brought to our identifying a preferred corridor. So let's talk a bit about the study goals associated with the greenhouse gas and air quality study. So there's two key goals of this work. The first is to determine the greenhouse gas emissions that the project is expected to produce. And the second is to determine the project's production of air contaminants and their impact on air quality in the area. So understanding the activities and the number of pieces of equipment that'll be conducting those activities and looking at the emissions from those different pieces of equipment that are used in the construction phase and in the operations phase, and looking at the big picture to see if there's, again, like we do in other aspects for the environmental assessment, we're looking at potential effects, right? So in terms of some of the studies, we look at sources of air contamination or potential emissions. Now, as you can imagine, these could occur, through and primarily from exhaust from construction equipment and road vehicles during construction when the most activity is going on along the roads. Um, Exhaust from public vehicles along the road. Um, and vehicles and equipment involved in the maintenance of the road during the operations phase. Excuse me. Heavy machinery being used for clearing of vegetation, handling materials, meaning trucking, for example, trucking gravel and rock to the site for use in the construction of the road. The process of aggregate extraction, so extracting the rock during construction, blasting activities, uh, which the inevitably create dust through the use of explosives. There's quite a bit of dust that's generated. Excuse me. So those activities can impact air quality on a temporary basis. And then the use of diesel generators as a power source in remote areas where there are no power lines to tap into, and these would probably be located more likely be located at the construction camps and maintenance yards, but also used in different areas along the road during the process of construction. So let's look a little bit at the valued components associated with greenhouse gases and air quality. Um, so looking at the air quality valued component, well, let's look at the indicators and let's look at the rationale for selection and then linked valued components. So indicators, again, are ways of measuring impacts. So in our case, we would be looking at things like changes in the concentrations of different air contaminants. These could be carbon monoxide, monoxide, sulfur dioxide, um, a lot of different, nitrous oxide. There's a lot of benzene and volatile organic compounds as well. There's a lot of different contaminants that could be looked at and that would be looked at to look for changes in concentrations. And again, this is no different than when we talk about other um, uh, chemical analysis that we undertake, like with water. What we're trying to do is establish a baseline. We're trying to establish the way things are now, so that we know we have a basis for comparison. So, for example, if we're during the construction phase, we're monitoring air quality and we're seeing extremely high values of a certain chemical parameter, extremely high concentrations, then maybe there might be something that can be done to mitigate the emissions of that chemical parameter to a degree. Um, so that's why we need to establish that baseline. Um, and then the contaminants that we have selected as indicators are based on you know professional knowledge and commonly associated uh, that the fact that these chemicals are commonly associated with transportation and construction activities. And then other linked valued components would be surface water, vegetation, wildlife, social, human health. All these are linked to the air quality valued component. Now let's look at the greenhouse gas valued component, and the indicators for those would be uh, ways of quantifying or measuring through numbers, so measuring sort of objectively. And you could be looking at carbon dioxide, you could be looking at methane, you could be looking at nitrous oxide. Those would be your indicators when it comes to greenhouse gases. And the reason for these being selected is because those are indicators prescribed by the Ministry of Transportation. So, um, and then the linked valued component associated with greenhouse gases would be climate change, basically. So so that's basically a rundown of the different greenhouse gas and air quality studies being undertaken and the purpose for them. Again, we're like with the other valued components, we're looking at establishing a baseline, understanding the way things are now, and then having a basis for comparison so that we can take action if something during the monitoring phase in construction and operations. If we see something that's out of line, we have something. Well, the only reason we will know it's out of line is if we have something to compare it to. So that's the thinking behind the greenhouse gas and air quality studies. So that wraps up today's discussion of air quality and greenhouse gas emissions studies. We hope it was helpful and encourages you to join us next week when we discuss the cumulative effects study plan. Um, don't forget to keep in touch with our project team members via the contact information available on our website, northernroadlink.ca. Um, we welcome your and comments anytime. We'd love to visit your community and talk to you in person. If not, we can do a virtual meeting or whatever format best suits you. Um, we respect your protocols as well too. So, miigwech, and make sure to look out for project updates on social media and our website. See you soon.